Welcome to The Victory Show.
Hey, Victors. Welcome to this episode of The Victory Show. If this is the first time you're joining us, I'm Travis Cody, best-selling author of 16 books, and I've had the privilege of helping hundreds of business consultants, founders, and entrepreneurs write and publish their own best-selling books as well. In that journey, I've discovered a fascinating pattern. Most businesses hit a revenue plateau, usually around $1 million a year, and they really struggle to break through it. So on this show, I sit down with some of the world's most successful CEOs, consultants, leaders, and business owners to uncover the strategies they use to overcome those plateaus and scale their businesses to new heights. So more importantly, you can do the same. So get ready for some deep insights and actionable takeaways that you can implement in your life and business starting right away. My guest today is Zuleika Cuevas. She's the founder of Global Woman Leadership, where she equips career-driven women with the skills to own their careers, master executive presence, and break through leadership barriers, whether they're climbing the corporate ladder or stepping into entrepreneurship. From Fortune 500 boardrooms to high growth, high performance startups, Zuleika has coached leaders at companies like Citibank, Allstate, top global firms to their own careers, negotiate their worth, and lead with impact. Her work is rooted in transformation, not just in titles, but in how women show up, lead, and claim their space. And the best part is her superpower is helping women to step into their own power, own the room so they're not invisible, and land leadership roles with unshakable confidence. Zuleika, thanks for being here so much.
It's
So
a
we
pleasure to be here.
and we'll get into your journey here a little bit, but we mentioned this when we were chatting here just a little bit ago about the I don't think many people realize sort of how common it is for a woman in a leadership position, especially in a Fortune 500 or especially a Fortune 100 company, to be in a room and feel invisible. Can we just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I think, as women, lacking of confidence, that imposter syndrome, and I'll say that is common. Sometimes we step into an environment where we have all the skill sets, we have the competencies, yet we struggle with, we're unsure if we truly belong here. And a
Mm,
lot has to do with that mindset, that acknowledgement that yes, I belong here. I can own the room, and I have the expertise it takes to make a contribution in the space.
So what I find interesting is my work with people, I would say that there's a lot of men that also have imposter syndrome. I just have a feeling that when they get into the C-suite levels, a lot of them mask it with narcissism and ego.
Yes.
From my own experience there. So let's talk about your little bit journey. You're very accomplished. I mean, you've got multiple degrees. Did you set out at a young age to like, hey, I'm gonna be an executive in a company, or how did your path take you that way?
Very interesting. As I look back at my path, one of the things that my father taught my sisters and I is that education is priceless, right?
Mm,
And so that's something that I'll always remember. And that's why, I have these degrees, right, to back it up. How, and to lead with that through a professional career. But throughout my experiences, one thing that I learned is that I have the knowledge and experiences behind me to sort of help other women,
mm,
empower other women, and I don't know how I have been able to get this confidence. It has always been embedded in my soul. And that's one thing that I'm not afraid of. I'm not afraid to make connections. I'm not afraid to own the room. I'm not afraid to step into that environment and say, "Hey, I have something to say. Let me have a voice in what I'm saying." And I trust in my ability to step up and add and empower others and add solutions where I think it needs to be. But I believe that my experiences has equipped me to fill in the gaps.
Well, and I know especially in the corporate space, mentorship, finding somebody that's up the ladder from you, mentoring you, helping you groom them. It seems like those opportunities are not as prevalent for women. So it
Mhm.
sounds like what you're doing is trying to come in and fill that gap a little bit.
Absolutely. And being in HR in the leadership development space, I led mentorship sponsorship programs. And I have to tell you what I've seen as a result of these programs and how they have been empowered after these programs by giving them the tools that they need, not just the tools, but the strategies after, these programs. It takes them from just being in a room to owning the space. And so that is the gap that I fill because I've seen and witnessed the wonderful skill sets that these women need and deserve.
So that's interesting. I've never heard companies having, I guess, structured mentorship and what you said, sponsorship programs. Can you walk me through a little bit of how that works and what that looks like?
Yeah. And I love the word that you said. You mentioned the word structured, right? We are not taught very early that that there is a structure, that there is a strategy. We're not
Mm,
taught that, right?
yeah,
A lot of what we get into these positions, we're promoted from managerial to a leadership position without having the structure in place or the strategy in place on how to be a leader, right? And a lot of it is really taking initiative. A lot of it is about reaching out to others, developing relationships. A lot of it is partnering, collaborating. Well, how does one do that if one isn't shown how to, right?
yeah,
And so, and it's also too being in a space where there is influence, someone that can take you under their arm and just say, "Hey, let me show you, let me lead you."
mm,
And if you're not raising your hand to say, "Hey, I'd like to be part of that," then you're really not exposed to that environment. You don't even know that you need that. So
sure.
when I coach someone, I am giving them a strategy because they're not aware that a strategy needs to be in place.
Mm. Well, and from the standpoint of a leadership as well, like how do you'd mentioned earlier, right? A lot of times men are promoted based on potential, and then women come along and like you don't have enough experience. So, do you get over imposter syndrome? The fastest way is to have someone above you being like, "Hey, it's okay. It's all right. You made a mistake. Hey, it's okay. You can do this. You can do that." Right? That, and suddenly those voices go, "Oh, okay. I'm not the only one. Like this is person is pointing me." So that's fantastic. So what are some do you have some like cool success stories of people that have gone through these programs and
Yeah.
tell to walk me through where they were at when they started and kind of where they got to over the course of whatever the program was.
Yeah, I have seen talented women who wait for opportunities to happen.
Mm,
So, they have the skills and competencies they need to advance, but they don't understand that it's that lack of confidence that's holding them back in place,
sure.
that's holding them from moving
Well, and I
forward.
think you could say too, depending on the culture they raised up and what part of America they raised up into, right? There are a lot of communities where a woman should be seen, not heard, right? So you take that into the business space and you're waiting for the opportunity because you're like, no, no, don't speak up, right? So now you're
Yeah,
also dealing with a cultural thing as
yeah,
well
yeah.
that goes through. Yeah.
Yes, and I love that as well. I teach at New York University, specifically intercultural business communication,
Oh,
and we
wow.
empower the students to understand how to work with various cultures.
Mm,
But more importantly, we teach them to understand themselves. It's about self-awareness
yeah.
and understanding how to navigate various cultures. And what one finds out about that is that there are many cultures, and you hit it on the nail, that because of their background, they aren't quick to say, "Hey, I would like to take the lead in this project or that project," or I make decisions based on a group and not so much because I'm empowered to do it, to
Sure.
take that leap for myself. And so we have to understand that. So I teach global leaders as well that they must understand the cultural mindset
Yeah.
in order
That
to move to the next
that is
level.
so important. I'm working with a woman right now who grew up in India, and
Hmm.
she's risen up to C-suite, and she's writing
Yep.
a book because she was
Yep.
talking about how what I just shared is in America, and she was like, no, no, where I grew up, it was like if the woman spoke up, like your dad smacked you in the face, it was like, shut up, right?
Exactly.
You have one job, get married and have kids. That's it. So when she came to America and went to school, like her family disowned her and they were like, how dare you embarrass us by going and be successful worker? And she talked about how the first 10 years of her career is of like trying to navigate that cultural
Yeah.
pressure and like
Yes.
stigma, right?
Yes.
And then getting through that. And like her whole book was she's going back to India and teaching workshops for Indian
Yes.
women going, hey, here's how you break through that. It's really
Yes.
fascinating to me. So let's talk a little bit about the data in when these programs come in and companies take a concerted effort to mentor, everyone, not just particular whatever. Like, do you have any data that shows like what's the end result for the company when they do that in terms of
Um,
growth or success or pay rates or
yeah. I mean, I don't have the specific numbers, but the data proves that when we focus on women, it's just surmountable, right? Because again, we lack the networks, we lack the board of directors. We're just not exposed to those
Mm,
communities, and so when we put a strategy in place, and again, we have specific programs. When I was working for Citibank, I was the vice president and of talent and diversity, and in which I designed and executed a global talent management strategy. And in that, we ensured that leaders had the capabilities they needed to operate in those spaces as leaders. We would give them a direction and an execution of a global talent management strategy in order to provide growth for their division or department, and it was a way of retaining our diverse talent pipeline as well.
mm,
So these are the things that I was charged with within that division, and uh, the data doesn't lie. The data pointed us in the direction that this was a strong gap that needed to be filled.
mm. And from your work, are many of the bigger companies putting more attention on this to try to help start closing those gaps?
Yes, yes. And so again, if we lead with the data, a lot of the work, that's where it originates from. And when you look at the data, that's when you can put these pillars in place, all geared towards, hiring the right people, making sure that our people stay with us, and that our leaders are inclusive.
Hmm. You know, it's so interesting. Like the thing that occurs to me that didn't until just now, which just kind of, I guess, shows the state of how American I am, is when you're talking about Citibank, right? You're talking about these initiatives, and unfortunately, right now in the United States, all these things have been politicized to ridiculousness. But Citibank isn't just an American company. It's global. And so when
Yes.
you're talking about diversity initiatives, we're looking at this as a global spectrum from
Yeah,
things. And here in the States, everybody's like, no, but right here. And you're going, this is such a tiny little piece of what this company is doing,
absolutely.
and how that then spreads out into those
Yes.
communities and changes everything. So
Yes, absolutely.
I love the fact that part of the thing you identified is the confidence factor. And
Right.
in this show and some of the people that I've talked with, a lot of one of the questions I always like to ask is, what prevents people from scaling past a point? And one of the things that's come up a lot is CEOs that are running very successful businesses go, hey, if you're a leader of a business, one of the biggest things that'll hold you back is not being able to let go of stuff. You want to control
Yeah.
everything, right? And a lot of times I think that comes from the impostor syndrome, the confidence issue.
Yeah.
So let's talk about confidence in terms of entrepreneurship. Because obviously there's a confidence in the boardroom and being an executive, but there's a whole other game we got to play with entrepreneurship. So what can you tell us a little bit about that with the work that you've been doing?
That's the global women leadership. That's our foundation, to be the CEO of your career. And
It's a
we
great tagline. I love it.
thank you. If you've heard of entrepreneurial mindset, you'll understand that it is teaching one to think and act like a leader,
Mm.
like an entrepreneur, to not only own the space, but to create the space. So if you've looked at any one of my videos, I empower others to that there are 10 steps in not only building your brand, showcasing your value, but marking yourself like an entrepreneur.
All right, let's walk
And
through those 10. Now you got me curious. I want to hear them.
I love to. So the first is shift your mindset. Shift your mindset. And that's about reframing fear and fueling it with confidence, like the energy you need. It's all about how you look at things, right? Strengthen your inner belief, visualizing success. A lot of us don't know how to turn that negativity around and control that big muscle that's in your brain, right?
You know,
Um,
what's interesting, not to cut you off, we'll get it, but like that's one of the things, if you've read Arnold Schwarzenegger's biography, that he said the only reason I got into where I was is he's like, I have my one superpower is I have the ability to clearly visualize where I want to go.
love that.
And
Love
he
that.
just released a new book, and they said, why are you releasing this book? And he said, for the last 15 years, I'm going around talking to college students, asking them what's the vision for their life, and they don't have one.
You're just touching such a nerve in my soul, because that's what it's all about, right? Investing in yourself. Put energy around, like, many women, I'll give you this one thing. They don't believe in, they're the last ones to develop themselves, and they put their
Mm,
family first, right?
everybody else first.
Right? But take the time, the energy to invest in yourself. And it's all intentional. Leadership is intentional, and that's about growth, having that growth mindset. The other is think like a CEO, and it's all about your brand. So a lot of us know to go on LinkedIn, but LinkedIn is the storefront. You have to think of it as your storefront and how
We're
you
all
brand.
just a little store in the giant mall.
Right, exactly. And then it's be solution oriented. So when you are in a meeting, if you're in front of executive leaders, if you're on an interview, speak in terms of solving problems, right? Just don't come to talk about yourself. It really is about solving their
That's a
problems.
very masculine trait. But the funny thing is, right? It's uncomfortable. Like, so I'm bringing this up from my context of just in my
Sure.
marriage. My wife is, she's not that I'm very solution oriented to the point where my wife sometimes will come to me and be like, I'm going to share something with you. I don't want you to solve anything.
Right,
Just listen to me, right?
right,
But in a
right.
in a corporate setting, if you're a woman going like, here's how we're going to solve this, guys are going, solution. I love it. My brain's going
Yes,
perfect. Yes, let's
absolutely.
go.
And you've got to think in those terms, right?
So
And then
this is like and for women, especially in the corporate world, this is like a whole new skill set that's
that's what I'm talking.
not natural for
No, it's
your
not.
biology a lot of times.
It is not. And that's why it needs to be a strategic approach.
uh,
Right? You have to showcase your passion statement. Do you have one?
okay.
Uh,
I don't like explain that to me. I like
Oh,
that one.
passion statement. So I'll give you mine. Okay. So, and I start off with my name, and then you have to know, who you're serving. Because when you know who you're serving, then everything else flows, right?
Mm.
So I empower ambitious women and young adults, because I'm an educator, to build this unshakable confidence, to master high stakes communication, because I teach communication, and adopt a CEO mindset so they can stand out, land their dream job, and become the powerful, high impact leader they were meant to be. Now, there's a lot packed into this passion statement, but once you know it, then you can walk into any room you can network effectively, and you'll have a dynamic conversation. Does that make sense?
That passion statement is great. And what you shared was fantastic.
No, so but what I was saying is, as long as you have an effective passion statement, you can use it to walk into a room, network with others, and have this wonderful conversation. It defines you, and it gives you the courage to just tell people what you're all about.
So how does this passion statement look like for, let's say, a woman who's in a vice president spot in a Fortune 500 company?
Well, that's one of the things I would walk her through. So I would tell her, what's the one word that you are passionate about. So let's say she, I can't make things up right now, but the one word she's passionate about, who's her target audience, right? Then I would take her through to define what do they want or need,
Mm.
and then ultimately how will they be transformed. And by the time we're done with that conversation, she will have her passion statement.
Oh, that's great.
Isn't that
It,
wonderful?
that resonates with me so much better than saying, "Oh, I have an elevator pitch or my personal mission statement." Like that's so.
No, and if you need one, we can work together, Travis.
Yeah, we're gonna have to. I'm gonna need a passion. It's just so much better because like, who doesn't want passion, right? Versus
Right.
like mission. Again,
No,
we're in a very
no.
masculine society, so mission driven, right? But
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't
no.
want to be mission driven. I want passion in my life. I
But
like,
it's that, but it's also to fine tuning what your brand is about. It's all about a, coming up with a powerful brand that you yourself as a business owner can resonate to. But hold on, but at the same token, you're fulfilling the needs of your target audience.
sure.
So it really keeps you focused.
Well, it's really, I just love the perspective that you're putting on this because most people, when they're in a corporate setting and they're in a leadership role, they don't think of themselves as a brand. And so bringing branding into you as a leader is fantastic. I mean, that's such a great concept. And I would think that if you've got a modicum of skill sets, that's then what makes it, you become the person that's getting poached because of the other companies are like, we want that person, offer them more money.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so now as a founder, you know exactly your worth, you know exactly your value. And so again, it keeps you on that path where you
Mm. Okay, so what advice would you have then to let's take this in stages. Let's take this to a woman who's just graduated with her master's degree from Columbia, is going into the corporate world. What advice are you going to give her about this next 3 to 5 years?
one is to join my program, of course. I would say, in all honesty, is to um, be the CEO of your career. So, leadership is not something that's just given to you. You have to be in front and demand that you're worth it, right? And the only way that's going to happen is if you exhibit unshakable confidence.
Mm,
Number two is, I would say, again, build a very strong career brand, right? And so you have to understand how to do that. You've got to I'm always taking my clients on a strategic journey on how to do that. And they cannot fulfill this journey if they don't understand how to, where their strengths and their skill sets are coming from.
mm,
They have to understand what their own stories are and be able to communicate that effectively. And they have to strategically plan their career journey. They have to say, well, I want to get here, but what do I have to do within the next month, the next 3 to 5 months? And then just reverse engineer it where it's almost a daily, weekly goal. So that's my advice to them. Um, and then lastly, I teach them you got to know who you are, you got to know what you stand for, and how you want to show up. And so that's what it's about.
So let's expand that out now. We've got somebody that's 10 to 15 years into a career and maybe it's not going the way that they want.
Mhm.
So how do you take a woman in that position? Maybe she's stuck in middle management, but she wants more. How do we engineer a pivot?
How do we engineer a pivot? Well, I would first take her on and find out from her what are the challenges that she's undergoing right now. It really is about first doing an assessment. How is she perceived within her company? Uh, what are others saying about her? And start from there. And then once I receive that, then it's about understanding, you know, how does she communicate her value
Mm,
internally, and how are others receiving it? What I usually do is one of the first things, and you might find this not to be significant, but what I first ask them is, do you have a uh, sort of a journal? And it's not just any journal, Travis. It's a journal based on her individual career achievements. And so
wow.
I tell her to take me through that.
So it's
You
like a
know,
business yearbook,
it's like I
a
love that.
career yearbook.
That's right. Take me through that because when you have that, that sort of not only increases that mindset, that confidence in your abilities. No longer, you wiped out this imposter syndrome. Now you can talk about, your strengths. Now you can tell, leadership all about the impact because it is about the impact you've made within the time that you've been there, whether it's a month, 3 months, a year. And so that is what I start with. And then, tell me what their stories are. Tell me about a time when we're always going through, the situations where you had your challenges and your barriers, and that's what we start with. So,
Mm.
and I have a strategic program that I take my clients through. And
Yeah, let's
while
talk.
it's
Let's talk about that because one I was going to ask, like, if somebody's listening to this and they're going, "Ah, oh my gosh, I need this." Like, how does someone get in touch with you? How do they find you? How do they work with you?
Well, first of all, if you're not seeing me big on LinkedIn, you're just not there. I mean, I'm not afraid to be this. I do have
Wait a minute, you're not afraid to speak up in the public spectrum?
no, I'm not. In fact, I absolutely love it. But I do have an online presence. It's a 12-week live career acceleration program. And I say live because when I touch the human spirit, we have dialogues. And as women, that's what we're good at. Like,
Mm,
we just love to be in the room and have conversations, not just any conversation, but strong dialogue where we're connecting, right?
yeah.
So to have that it's just not that. But what I do is I take them through 6 steps in this program. One, again, we're going back to be the CEO of your career, which is that leadership mindset shift,
Yep.
and reframing their mindset, and then again visualizing success. Number two, I then talk about how to build a powerful brand at work, right?
Mm,
So we take them through that passion statement, that whole thing, right? Number three, then we're really giving them the tools and tips to for executive presence and communicating in a way where it's high stakes communication, where they are negotiating their worth, where they are proving why they should be a leader and owning the room. But it's also about how they're being perceived, right?
mm.
Um, and then just instead of being overlooked, we want them to, go on a journey where step by step they're able to achieve this result and that result. So I take them through those steps of career acceleration strategies.
I love it. So, best place to find you is on LinkedIn, or do you?
Best place to find me is LinkedIn, yes. And then certainly once you go on my LinkedIn page, you will see my email right there in the banner. So, and stay tuned for my videos because I love just touching base with everyone.
So that's Zuleika Cuevas on LinkedIn. Okay.
Yes.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I love where I always
Likewise.
like to end every conversation with 3 personal questions. So if you could go back, and this is going to be a good one for you, if you could go back in time and give your younger self one piece of advice, what would it be and why?
It would be believe in yourself and your abilities. It's not going to be given to you. Create your own opportunities and own your value.
Own your values. Great. So what mindset or belief shift in your own life's had the biggest impact on your success?
Honestly, it's thinking like a CEO.
Mm. And what does that mean to you, thinking like a CEO? What does that look like?
It is managing my own career in a strategic way. And so if it's not working in one place, then we need to be self-aware and almost come outside of ourselves and look at our career. Where is it taking us? Where do we want to be? It's about having vision. And so if what you're doing right now is not leading you directly to that vision, then we need to re-strategize.
Mm.
So it is about taking strategic steps.
That's it. I've never heard anybody talk about what makes a CEO, but strategy is that's so interesting. And the final question is, what is the best investment? Because we talked about earlier, you got to invest in yourself. What's the best investment you've made in yourself?
Going to conferences, I would say. I just, I am empowered by a community of confident women who want to share their own experiences and share stories. And so I love to be, that's how I'm empowered. And that is my growth mindset.
Wow, I love it. This has been a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much for being here. I've enjoyed our chat.
Likewise, Travis.